Cool. Okay, welcome to the Quadrant community call. Today is February the 6th, and we have a pretty large backlog of issues. And like always, I forgot, do we start at the top or at the bottom? I think at the top, but I'm not sure. Anybody knows?
Today we start in the middle. Because why not?
Okay, I'm just gonna, unless Peter, you tell me that this one has been there forever and it never gets to the agenda because it's at the bottom. If that's not the case, then let's just start at the top. Is David here? He's not. Okay, then skip. Okay, Guy, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, this is a brief one that I just updated in the description because it had to do with depending on the latest version of Istio, most of all, right? Which happens no longer to be a problem due to especially OpenShift service mesh plans, to backport that to the 2.x family. So meaning that people relying on OpenShift service mesh flavor of Istio will still get a gateway API v1. But the reason why I kept in the backlog is specifically because of what it says there, right? Because together with that latest version of Istio, we are also getting the replacement of some label selectors kind of approach for selecting gateways in the Istio policies with proper gateway API target rep builds. So this is kind of to provoke the discussion on whether we should go in the same direction, following Istio, not for our own policies, obviously, but when we use Istio policies. So instead of using the workload selectors, relying on the target rep. Meaning, if we say so, we would be settling with only the latest version of Istios and no other one. Yeah, Alex.
That's the if only it will work. Okay, I'll let Thomas speak afterwards. But 120 is also the whole, well, because maybe that's what Thomas means. So there is this bug there where we still need to put something in. But I think 121 then that's also not required anymore. Gus could provide more details. I'm talking, I haven't looked into this in a while, but I know there was a tiny issue there that they plan on fixing. But the point I wanted to make, 120 is also where you get gateway API 1.0. So the fact that we settle as that being the minimal viable version that we want to support for that, I think sounds fair to me, if you ask me. Obviously, I'm tainted, but so I don't think it's a huge problem that we say that's the minimal version and so be it. Or were you actually maybe thinking about having a way to sort of still support a workload selector as a fallback, or maybe do something else, right? But otherwise, I just
we have to be open for that possibility, right? Provided potential usage of Kuadrant in the short term by other projects. Thinking more not upstream related stuff, but mainly downstream. But I think maybe even for those, I mean, we could. I think it's manageable. We could push for something that is still 120 based. So I think it's all right. And I see we also have that issue, because that basically was the only thing remaining from the bigger discussion I had in the backlog around this. The issue that you opened, Alex, if it's only about the currently supported issue provided policies that are already implemented target ref, I think that could be an easy change, right? And even a good first issue for anybody interested in contributing. Because actually we have a quite, I want to say fancy, but it's not fancy. It's more cumbersome than fancy. The mechanism we use, to get to the actual workload selectors. Because when we have our policies targeting, say, a gateway, we need to actually find the actual workload selectors used by Istio behind that gateway, right? So not in the labels that allow us to select the gateway object, but rather the pods that Istio create for those gateways, right? And that is kind of there are a series of steps to get to that. If we can just replace with the target ref, that would be terrific. But that's it. I mean, nothing more to be said, in my opinion.
How would you summarize that?
I think Alex already did. I mean, in the issue, right now it's mainly about moving forward with replacing whatever usage we have for the workload selectors for the target ref. And with that comes, as a corollary that we only support these to 120. I think that's it.
Right, and you said it was also potentially a good first issue, or that was not about this issue?
No, yeah, that's the one, yeah. Okay. If everybody agrees, but I think it is.
Okay, add the label. Okay.
I think it's a desirable thing, right? We're burning code. The indirection of looking at the workload is gone. We just do this, and it leverages the pattern that people know from Gateway API and how we do things underneath as well. I think everybody wins. So,
yep. Okay, next item.
Sorry, Thomas. Before I move to the next one, maybe something that we could explore is maybe helping Istio to move forward in the same direction for the other kinds of policies or additional configuration that we leverage from that, right? Because they should be doing the same thing for things like the envoy filter one or other kinds of CRDs, other CRDs they have. They did not call them policies because so far they only did it for the old policy, for the Istio authorization policy. But the same could be done for the envoy filter, for the WASM plugin, right? Which basically follow the same approach. I wonder, that could really make our lives easier, I think. So why not, open the pull requests directly to Istio in the first place and help us out? Just an idea.
I'm not try again. I don't want to push you under the bus, though I'm doing it. Gus, I think maybe you don't remember either, but I think you looked into it. I think you found something. There was something missing. Something was broken. I don't remember exactly, but I think you tried doing that, and it was a tiny issue still.
Yeah, that was because the gateway we created was not a pure gateway API gateway. Let's say like this. We were using a Istio gateway, and then we created an gateway API's gateway manually pointing to the deployment. So this is kind of weird setting up of, well, not weird. It's supported, but it's a manual deployment of gateway API gateways. So in that particular case, the target ref from Istio source didn't work. So I opened a PR, and they were in an issue about that, and they were discussing. Some people were in favor of supporting that use case when using target refs. Some other people argue against it. They had good reasons to do that. Not going to detail. I can share the issue if not there. The thing is that we end up taking the decision. We end up changing our deployment. So instead of doing this manual deployment, we just rely on. This is only for dev testing, to be clear. We end up in our dev testing. We end up deploying pure gateway API. So in that case, the issue is gone. We don't have any. It works as expected.
So as in they were open to that change.
I don't know if the issue is closed. I didn't receive any notification. In the end, I think the people against this change supporting manual, let's call it manual deployments for this use case, the people against that, I think they had a point, and since there was no agreement, it didn't go forward. I don't know. I didn't check latest news, but I didn't.
Okay, just paste a link in the doc if you find it.
Yeah, exactly. This is the link, and it was closed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was closed. So I guess they are not going to do that. No, they decided not to move on this. I mean, no. Since I tell them that it's no longer an issue for us, they said okay.
Of course, sure. Yep. Okay, move on. I think who's on the call? Mr. Brooks. Nope. Okay, the Brooks family is entirely missing. Okay, next. Paul McCartney missing. Martin missing. Okay, Guy, this is getting a bit repetitive.
Actually, I'd rather push this to next week if we can, Thomas, because that's going to take a while.
Okay.
I need to. Yeah.
Well, we have a while, but okay, sure. Peter, you ready to
Yeah,
talk?
sure. Yeah. So this is a minor issue we've encountered. We've got pretty good at merging and doing RFCs. I'm happy with the process overall, with the review process and everything. However, I think there is still one thing we are missing, and that is properly track the implementation status. Right now, if you look at the merged RFCs, the issue is that you actually do not really know if they are done or they are not done, in what state they are. I've listed a few examples of where there are small issues, which cause a big issue if you just go by the RFCs, right? Recently, we looked at well-known attributes. We didn't see any epic in Jira. We just expected it's RFC. Okay, it's done. No, it's not done. Well-known attributes haven't been really done at all. We just didn't know it, and it wasn't really clear from the RFC itself. So basically, what I would like to propose is either add some implementation status into the RFC itself, or to just be better with the epics and link them properly. Go on, Guy.
You know, I've been thinking about that myself as well, and I think one thing is the status of the RFC of one particular bit of the RFC, right? As in, and I'm referring to a practice that is more or less common on anything that similar to our RFCs, like for example, gateway APIs gaps, right? Where you highlight the status of one particular proposal within the RFC, right? Because in general, the RFC is a proposal, right? It does not mean it's going to be implemented or it's implemented. So we can highlight the status of that RFC in general, like this is new, it's open for comments, or it already became a standard, this kind of stuff. And within an RFC, the status of individual parts of the proposal, such as this is experimental, this is a must-have, this is a standard, or whatever. Another thing is the status of the implementation of that in our code base, right? Which I think probably the epic reflects better than the RFC itself. But maybe I'm alone on this, and I don't know if everybody sees this way.
Go on, Alex.
Yeah, so the README tries to explain the life cycle, and maybe I didn't do that well or missed stuff. But let's say the way I had this in mind was that the RFC is open for debate for as long as the PR is open, and something is agreed on, that's when it gets merged, right? The fact that it doesn't get merged doesn't mean that somebody's going to start working on it right away, or that like even anyone, doesn't mean anything needs to be assigned to that, right? That being said, there is a field at the top that should say issue and link to the issue that represents, I guess, what you reference as the epic key, right? That would be the one thing that lists, that sort of tracks the work related to that, right? To that thing. So, yeah, so that was kind of the idea. And I guess the ones that don't have a linked issue to it is because when I approved, I didn't review properly. So blame me.
I would also say that even though if they have the issue, that this is, for example, the RLP v2, the issue itself is open. It has that we need to it has a field that we need to update to Gateway API 0.7.0, even though first RLP v2 is already been done for a few months. And of course, we no longer need Gateway API 0.7.0. So basically, I think we should probably track it better. I'm not sure what the correct word is. Yeah, just be more careful about the epics and mark them ready when they actually are and stuff like that.
So I certainly agree we need to be better at this. So hard to argue with that last point.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not me that's going to be arguing against it. But yes, now on that particular one, I just don't want to say, okay, let's close it. Like it's probably worse to go again through the entire FC, make sure that really all the tasks and all the stuff discussed has been done and we're listed as checkbox there, because that's the thing that I know we're not necessarily very good at and was pointed out before. And to some extent it's good, and maybe to another extent it's bad, I don't know, is that this issue that what we do with those epics, right, and the bullet points, it cannot really be split up into yet more. Now, and we don't really want that anyways, because we don't want to be navigating 10,000 issues in order to find the thing that you care for, right? So what I proposed last time is that maybe we split them in groups and you have first iteration and these are those issues. And then maybe then when that iteration is done, because from a QE perspective, I guess what you're asking is when is the point in time where I can use the RFC as a sort of a documentation to build my test plan, well, to actually run my test plan, whether you like do it before or after doesn't really matter. But now you know that, okay, with that being done, I can actually run that test plan and it should all pass and be green, right? So I think that's maybe stuff that we should look into, but I'm not really attached to any solution, even if it means deep linking across 10,000 issues in GitHub. I have plenty of reason to curse about GitHub every day. So, or let's say the issue management thing. There's just be one added to the list. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think the process can stay the same. We just need to get better at managing those epics. I think that's all. But just I wanted to bring it up because it caused some issues for us.
Is it fair to summarize that we basically the RFC itself doesn't necessarily say anything about the implementation of what's being written in the RFC, but the only link to what's actually being worked on is the link to the GitHub issue from the epic. So we have to make sure that that link is okay, and then how we manage that in GitHub is yet another thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'll
to say that.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, Guy. Sorry. I'll own going through the merge RFCs for the ones that miss an issue, link to it, make sure it gets added to the one that already exists. If it doesn't, create it, and so forth. I'll do that tomorrow.
Thanks, Alex. I think that's really helpful. Although I think our biggest problem will probably be updating the descriptions of the epics themselves, right? I was checking very quickly the list, and I think all of those epics have at least one task that's incomplete or that we haven't even started yet. So what should we do in this case? Should we split that epic into multiple ones only for the sake of closing the epic, or you go through the list and if it's checked, then that aspect is done and that's it. That's the best we can do.
I'm proposing the groups, do a thing where like it indents. I think it gets where stuff is indented, right? Like first iteration, second iteration, blah blah blah. I'll because my preference gives you like this one view on everything, right? Versus step 1, step 2 to step 19, and then every time you need to click and go check what the state of the individual stuff is. I like it less like that, but maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, it's one opinion, and I'm fine with anything, but I'm glad you asked though, because I will probably need to do something around those lines tomorrow now that I signed up for this. So knowing what I should do is probably a good thing. I would group is what I would do, if something's wrong. That means that the epic though remains open, right? Which again, I think is fair for an epic to remain open and just be delivered in chunks. But again, I'm not willing to be wrong.
Epic remains open or the RFC remains open?
The epic.
RC, as soon as it's agreed on, gets merged, and it's quote unquote not closed, but I think I used the word frozen, right? If you want to change it, you reopen another thing because you want to re-go through the discussion thing. The issue is
So
the
we're
thing
not-
that tracks the work. The epic issue is what tracks the work related to the entirety of the RFC. Maybe that's what the system is telling us. Maybe RFCs are too big and we should split things up in smaller chunks.
Yeah, because the use case RFC is agreed on, gets merged, work starts, and then during the work things change, things happen, new insights, and you change things how you do certain things. So you change even the why, or you're gonna go back to the RFC and update the RFC, or you don't.
Okay, I don't think that has happened yet. Can we discuss that when that happens? I think that will tell us something about the process itself, but that too much detail or whatever will be fundamentally wrong, not enough research. I don't know, but I don't think that's what we're discussing here. And can we tackle problems when there are problems? I don't want to start
Okay, then I
codifying
misunderstood.
something around something that's
Sure.
not
I
yet a
misunderstood
problem.
Guy. I thought Guy was talking about that part, but I was wrong. Okay. Anything that wasn't talked about, Peter, that you wanted to talk about on this subject?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm happy with. We should try better, and that's it. Just
Okay. Then I'd say we have no more items on the backlog that we can talk about in this meeting, unless anybody wants to bring up something right now.
I think David joined and you
Really?
mentioned him before. Am I wrong?
Right.
We skipped him because he wasn't there
Yes.
yet, but now he is. So
You feel like talking about this one, David?
Which one are you?
Sorry, the one at the top. Yeah, I'm not the one
Oh.
speaking my screen. Yes.
Yeah, let me rack my brain here to see if I can talk about that. I'll revisit this and come up with something better than the words that are there. So let's leave that for the moment.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Okay. So I guess we'll leave it here. Maybe one nice thing in half an hour. There's the Gateway API call, which will start with a short presentation of Kuadrant by David, with some others of you joining. But like anybody who's interested, you can. That's an open call. You can ping me for the details. I don't remember right now where to find this, but Gateway API SIG, you'll find the calendar. With that said, let's leave it here, and everybody has a good day. Thank you.
Thanks. See you.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.